How was your vacation, Jonathan?
It was great. We went surfing on St. Thomas and it was amazing. And my daughter told me that we're surfing people now, so we're gonna have to start taking surfing vacations, I guess.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, I think I could live that life.
Glad to hear you had a good time.
John, where did you go? You don't have to say. I just didn't know where you went.
We went to Florida. We have a new niece and we weren't able to see her because they got sick. So we didn't end up seeing them. And then we left and we went to St. Thomas and Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and somewhere in the Bahamas, some random beach. It was literally, that was it. It was awesome.
What line did you take?
It was on Norwegian.
Oh, good
It was
news.
cool.
Excellent.
So you were on a cruise then?
We were, yeah. We ended up having longer ports though. So we were in each place for almost a whole day, basically, which is kind of nice. And I think we're going to go back down there. I mean, I didn't realize how cheap it is to go down to Puerto Rico and like fly around the islands down there, but you can get down there for like $125. So I think we might do it again.
Wow. It is cheap.
That is cheap.
You can hardly get to Denver for 125.
Well, it's good to see everybody. We haven't had a meeting in a while. Maybe we'll just give it one more minute. Well, I want to welcome everybody, and Jonathan, if you have anything new, I'm going to let you kick it off.
Mayor, I think we just wanted to try to do a little bit of roundtable and maybe bring up this idea about starting to talk about what the Economic Recovery Task Force could turn into in the future. We've had a couple of ideas about that, and I think we're going to want to make sure we have the input of everyone who typically participates in the group and other people as well. But we've had some conversations recently about, we're not really working on economic recovery anymore. A lot of our efforts are focused on the downtown marketplace and marketing and making it a good experience down there, programming. I've talked to Sadie a little bit about this as well. And one of the things that I've been thinking is that a new group might be appropriate that works on community promotions and programming in the downtown area specifically. And it could be well aligned with the ISMA and the Chamber of Commerce, but basically we have a lot of events that happen downtown now. Even flower planting and fireworks take a pretty good amount of lifting to get off the ground. We've got 9/11, all these different things that are happening. And one of the things that we have become aware of in this time is that there is a need to make sure that folks, that when we program the marketplace, it's programmed correctly, that the city staff has everything they need, and that event organizers have an easy path to get their stuff put together in the right way for this. We need to make sure everybody on either side of the equation has everything they need. And so we're thinking there's a couple ways this could go. One could be, this could be a community promotions committee, or maybe community promotions / economic development. We were down in by Grand Junction in, where were we, Mayor? I forgot, with the dartboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we did travel to see what was working in Grand Junction, and it was another smaller city, which kind of reminded us of Idaho Springs, where they've done things quite well, and I'll admit, I was way off. I had envisioned the area as perhaps a little more depressed because they're not a not a tourist town. They had done a real good job, and there were a lot of good examples of folks that frankly were earning kind of a franchise, like Petco, for example, type of incomes without paying that type of a franchise fee and being restricted to that kind of inventory. And the Montrose area is where we went. And it has been a while since any of you have been there. I will say that it was very uplifting. That was a very well worth fall trip. But we went and attended that.
It could be something we could replicate here. And I think there's a couple of things that group could do. One, it could help with community promotions type stuff like we we're talking about. Two, it could be assistance for economic development. One example in this town that we went to that happened was there was a building and a group that wanted to start a microbrewery / coffee bar place. And so they worked with this group. I'm not saying that's what we get, but just like they work with people from the community who want to invest in the community and find ways to do that. And I think that that's something that we've shown with this group is resiliency and sustainability of our activities. And I think that it's something that we could build upon, not reinvent the wheel on what we're doing, but just start working together to solve some of these issues that we have and put it together in a cohesive way. The other thing, and Bob, I've talked to you about this several times, if the marketplace, if we continue to do it all the time, which it seems like it's been successful for everyone, we need to start thinking about permanent, I don't want to say improvements, but permanent programming spaces and all that kind of stuff to start segueing it into like its next iteration and just keep developing it so that it continues to innovate and be cool. And, having a person that can kind of drive those initiatives might be really valuable. A lot of communities are what are called Main Street communities. We're a Main Street associate community. So we're at the very bottom level of what a Main Street community is. But the idea is you build a community asset in your downtown that's local and has, the flavor of your community. So you don't become a big box mecca kind of place. And then you use that tool to reinforce what makes you great. And I think that that's something that we can do too. And I think that we have the voices in this room that could really drive that effort forward. And so those are just some of my initial thoughts. What I would really like to do, if Andy and the mayor are good with it, is maybe start working on a new invitation for a meeting. And it would be, I think, probably a meeting at VRTF. We could even do it at our next one, but kind of start having a come together of the minds to start talking about what this might look like and what it might include so that we can scope it out. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it even becomes an official committee of the city. It may not be required though. It may be something that's a little bit more informal. But I think that we have an opportunity right now to start thinking about what we've done since 2020 and start thinking about what we're going to do until 2027. So I think that's kind of where we're at. That's just my thoughts, but I'd let, obviously whatever you guys have to say and if there's anything you'd like to do differently.
I would just mention, I think we need to keep the East End in mind at whatever level, but don't appear that we're excluding them, which we're obviously not, but it might appear that way. So I think we need to be conscious of being inclusive.
Thanks, Bob. So we wouldn't call it downtown economic group, for example.
I think I would hesitate making a little geographic area out of it. It's certainly practically what it is, and but we wouldn't want to exclude, somebody with some ideas from the East End or something like that. So just to make it more general, certainly our focus is downtown right now.
Yeah, well, and you got to hand it to folks. It's the uniqueness of our businesses, and of course, maybe with McDonald's or Carl's Jr., there may be more outliers. But I'm saying everyone on this call and, barbecue place and others on the East End, very unique. And people seek out our businesses because it's a very interesting spice and tea shop or pizza place. It's not, Domino's or something that you see every other type of a city, a great steakhouse and not a franchise, and I just think that really is a strength here in the city, just East End or downtown. We've got a lot of great shops and places to eat. I'd sure love to see us promote that. And I think it's our biggest strength myself.
One way of maybe looking at the difference of the East End and downtown is that the downtown has a lot of common issues. Parking, obviously, the marketplace. We're all squished together very closely. We walk out of one door and we're in front of the next building. And the East End, they have their own parking. They're spread out on both sides of a very busy street. There are bigger lots, and so I think they're just more diffused, and I would say more able to focus on their own issues rather than their neighbors. And out downtown, we don't really have that option because we're in it together, primarily because of the public property and streets that surround everything we do down there.
Right. Hey, Chip, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I'm a little concerned with this direction. Until we get parking taken care of in downtown Idaho Springs, again, being downtown, watching people driving around in circles and leaving in frustration. We get comments all the time on you people that are commenting on Google and so forth and so on about the parking. We've got to get that together. And, I'm really questioning whether we keep the marketplace going until we get some more parking, or we figure out what we can do with parking until we get a garage. But I think that should be a major focus that we don't want to lose sight on, because we're getting people upset. They aren't going to come back. And it's something that we really got to keep focused on. And it's just taking way too long to make this happen.
Yeah, I hear it, Chip.
I agree with Chip. There's been a lot of unhappy people. I hate to be that person saying that, but there's a lot of unhappy people about the parking situation for sure in town.
I do think that
I'm
if we
hearing
build
from
our
our
group to manage our situation, I mean, this is what this group has been to this point, is managing the recovery. We need a group that can manage the situation, whatever our needs are, and can help. I think one of the things that we've done to this point on parking is we have leaned hard on Sadie and on TJ and on the ISMA to help us talk to all the different business and property owners. And we do need to start thinking about their time and their volunteers. And we need to start thinking about formalizing some structures that we can manage our situation. I definitely agree 100% on the parking. I mean, I've been living that for the last 5 years, is trying to get this through. I think we're very close on that. But I think if we can have a group of our community leaders put together to start thinking collaboratively about some of these issues, I think it will benefit us long term. We're never going to have vacancies downtown like some towns do. We're going to have it's always going to be somewhat full. And I think that that's going to be a challenge. And so we definitely need to make this our own. And I think one of the tasks for this group could be, the role that Sadie and TJ specifically have been playing in bringing this mobility hub forward. But I see Sadie, you had your hand raised, and I kind of just cut in there. So.
I think one thing that I know quite a few of us business leaders and stuff have talked about, especially regarding parking, and a way that this next iteration of the group could be is, for conversations with big event organizers when they come to the community, to have conversations with them about parking impact fees, that they might need to be paying parking impact fees, having conversations with them so that they understand that the impact that their parking their event has on our downtown district parking. Like, these are only conversations that we can have through a formal way of communicating with event organizers, because they come to our event, or they come to our town to host events, and they don't understand our town. They don't understand the business owners. They don't understand the impact that their event has. Steve did some amazing numbers and ran some really good numbers on the last couple of bike races we had in the community. I know the marathon over the weekend, heavily impacts parking, and we don't see a significant amount of increased customer traffic. And we see a decrease in our availability in our parking, and therefore more frustrated people. So if we don't have a formalized process to engage with people that want to use our community and how we want to use our community. We're really just getting in this very cyclical, not making any forward movement. And I do agree that parking is something that really a formalized process where we could create up more creative solutions on how we can have better parking programs till we get the mobility hub built. There are lots of options that we've kind of found creative solutions for, but there's no formal way to do it.
TJ, I see it. Your hands up.
Yeah, kind of seconding some of that, and thanks John for lumping me in with Sadie, but she does a lot more than I do. But just there has to be something said for the economic impact that it has on a business such as ours, by being able to have 14 extra tables outside, and the investment that we have put into it. That makes a world of difference for our business in the summertime. And yes, I understand that there are parking problems. I think we all understand that. I mean, I wish that we could make the high school lot look a little bit more attractive and run a shuttle or something from there. I do believe that there are options there that even the downtown community would support financially, until we do have the mobilities. So I think from my perspective, I would like to try to think a little bit outside of the box a little bit more on that, and find a way to supplement those whatever 60 plus minor street spots that we lose, and try to find a different way of doing it. But that's just my opinion, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. A couple hours ago, I wanted to welcome all of the big brass from CDOT that's here visiting and having a retreat here in Idaho Springs today. So I seized the opportunity to not only greet everyone from CDOT, but to put our plug in that, they have funded other transportation hubs in the metro area to a very large level. I mean, we've seen $12, $20 million even going for some of these transportation hubs. And, while that's very uplifting, I just wanted to remind them that we need some dough. We need some additional financial support, particularly if it's going to be the transportation hub that CDOT would desire. Anyways, I just want to say that was just a couple hours ago, and hopefully in the very near future, we can see some more money ponied up. I certainly hope so. And I know that we have tried to bring every ounce of pressure to bear where, it needs to be applied to make that happen. So I think it is important to start to see a transportation hub. Obviously, as we're discussing here, we're losing millions. I don't think there's any doubt we're losing millions as a city, and to the 2.65% of every dollar, the county also is just losing millions. And as Chip has pointed out, you don't want people to go away mad. They take their purses and their wallets and they get back up on I-70 and maybe have this desire to come back. And we definitely do not want to go down that road. Sadie, I see your hands up.
I did also just want to mention, and I know I've mentioned this to a lot of you one-on-one, and I also get guests in my shop that are frustrated and irritated about parking as well. And I do want to say that I think it balances out the positive feedback that we get from the marketplace, the amount of press that we've gotten over travel bloggers and people visiting the marketplace and putting our town on the map as a downtown marketplace that's available year round. We've become on the top 5 dog friendly towns and mountain towns in Colorado. That's strictly because we have an outdoor dining area that accommodates dogs. Like, these are huge things. Like, we have gotten known as a town that has this closed minor district that has really also balances out with a lot of positive feedback. So while we do get people that are frustrated about parking, we had those people before we closed minor. We didn't have the positive attraction in the summer that we did. So it's kind of that balancing act. So if anybody's interested in all of the articles that have have been posted about the Minor Street, I have a large collection of everything, and it's brought a lot of press and a lot of features to our community. So that's just another balancing to the fact that it does help a lot continue to bring people to the community, even if they're a little frustrated about parking. I do think TJ had some really good points. There are ways that we could do more shuttles, work with the county with the roundabout more, figure out ways to market more, allow pedicabs back in, find a different way. It doesn't have to be Mountain Youth Network. There are other ways, to encourage people to park farther away so that they can get down into the downtown district, more wayfinding. There's a lot of opportunity to bridge the gap while we work on building the mobility hub. And to speak to Mayor, the CDOT people, when my mom went upstairs to deliver tea, they were talking about how to give us more money to fund the mobility hub. So they're talking about it. So at least we're like, she was like, I walked in on a conversation. They're talking about giving you more money. I was like, that's good. That's really good. So, I mean, they're at least we are on their minds. So that's a big deal.
Heidi, I'm glad to hear that. Chip, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I think that's all great. I think until we're able to get this mobility hub, because it's going to take some time yet to make that happen, we need to be looking and finding some of those solutions that TJ's talking about, set them up, market them, and because again, my manager's telling me they're starting to see fights out in the parking lot now. And that's really concerning. I mean, it's just getting to the next level. People are getting so upset. So we really need to step up and do whatever we can, whether it's a, shuttle down to the old high school or whatever it is, temporary places. We need to be stepping up and doing something.
Chip, I also would just like to add that one thing, it's more a temporary stopgap measure, but a little bit of a bright spot. That 103 parking lot was really very busy through rafting season, obviously with rafters, the majority. But there were many a day I drove through that 103 parking area and would only see maybe 3-4 spaces even empty out of all of them that are there. Now that rafting, is ending, that might be a possibility, because it is, for most people, still a reasonable walk, walking across I-70, but perhaps, and I say a stopgap because if the fire department chooses to build a firehouse there, obviously that's going to go away. And also we've got like a 200 PSI line that services the city, unfortunately, that goes through the middle third of that property. When we do move that, that's going to disrupt that parking lot. But at least as a short-term measure, I think that, as Sadie was saying, maybe with some wayfinding and additional information for visitors, they may take advantage of that. And by the way, that is a discount lot, so they are rewarded for walking further. It's not the same rate as behind our businesses. So cross our fingers there. Jonathan, I see your hands up.
I just wanted to say that we have increased, I don't know if you saw this, Mayor. I had to step off for a moment, but we have increased our transactions in that lot between June and July. Our average parking ticket increased too in July. We were at 280 a spot to now we're about 393, which is really good. In parking. We've also more than doubled the transactions in that lot from 387 to 878. So we see that use is starting to happen a little bit. I just wanted to add that in there.
And just so everybody knows, that lot, at least up until Saturday, it's $2 all day. But what happens is the spots turn over. And this is why Jonathan is sharing with us like 380 a day. Somebody comes, spends 2-3 hours, they leave and someone else takes it. So instead of $2 an hour, it's $2 all day, and they are turning over multiple times. So I would say that's well embraced, but perhaps like Sadie was saying, there probably are some things we can do to get the word out a little better, that those spaces are available at a discount rate. And Lindsay, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm wondering if, again, we could just continue to work with this parking company. I've seen people kind of customers getting into it with the parking attendants. Where my office is located, I see people parking outside my window and just ticket. And, just wondering, I hear that, the ticket revenues are going up, but that also leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. And I've seen people very upset about the tickets. And so I'm wondering if there's any way to issue warnings for the first time. I don't know if they're able to track that. And then I also think that there's opportunity, if possible, for the company to just make it more user-friendly for seniors. That's other feedback that we've received, is that, if they're not using their phones or the feedback that I'm getting is that it's just not the most user-friendly, especially for the older folks that aren't downloading apps on their phone and things like that. And again, just the tickets. I mean, even just walking down the street, I just see yellow envelopes all the way down. And I just think that can kind of turn people off, I guess.
Lindsay, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to let Jonathan address that, but I have heard many of the same complaints. Now, they have been good about dismissing them. But as you point out, you've angered people, before it was dismissed. And frankly, often people don't pursue it. So they're angry and they'll just mail in, the fine. And unfortunately, like I said, we can have it where it's leaving a bad taste in people's mouths. But go ahead, Jonathan.
I do want to address the ticket situation. And I think it's really important that we really be pragmatic and practical about this certain situation. We have a problem with people parking and taking advantage of trying to say that they're going to miss an ambassador. And I think that that's something that's endemic to any parking place. People are going to try to get away with what they're going to get away with. And it's a problem because what that does is it also limits availability to paying customers, because a lot of those people, we don't know for sure they're going downtown and shopping. And so I think, like Lindsay said, there's a balance there, but we have to start enforcing our parking rules in the downtown. It's part of this. Like, this is absolutely part and parcel to our parking problem. We have to give tickets, and we have to be a little bit hard about it. I do a lot of my work is talking to people when they have these issues. And I can't tell you how many dozens of hundreds of people tell me that they didn't see a parking sign. And then they send me a picture of their vehicle with 4 parking signs in the picture. I think it is relatively straightforward. I think it is not that hard to use. You can text it, you can do a QR code, you can pay at the meter. But I do think that one thing that we might benefit from, and something that I want to talk further about, and Jared and I have had some initial conversations about this, but I would like to do a formal signage plan for parking just in general. And this gets to Sadie's point too about wayfinding to parking as well. We have some rules in our downtown that we can't have digital signboards. I'm not sure there's any appetite to create some sort of, futuristic signage situation in Idaho Springs, but I do think that we can improve upon what we have. And I just want to say that, but just as the person who's primarily the point of contact when people are pissed off, I am getting tired of people crying the second they get a ticket because they chose to break the rules of our city. And this is an impact on residents and on business owners. It impacts everyone. And I know it sucks. And I know that nobody wants to see somebody mad about a ticket. But honestly, we're taking away from paying customers when we allow them to break the rules the way they do. And so I'm not trying to be hard about it, but I do think that we need to remember that the reason that we increase the ticket prices and the reason we're doing that is because people are in, and those people, if they're not paying, who knows how long they've been there. They could stay all day, which, we have 3 turns a day in the average parking space. If you think 3 turns a day times an average bill of $100, which is usually what we see downtown, at least $100 is where we think we are. I think that you see that there's a pretty large impact there.
Jonathan, thank you. And I know that many of the tickets that have been forgiven have been locals and seniors sometimes that have had problems with technology.
Yeah.
And I thought that the parking folks seem to be pretty reasonable at, forgiving those. To Kate Collier's point, there does have to be some enforcement, or locals wouldn't even be able to park in front of their own house.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we will, as a matter of policy and a matter of course, forgive any residential ticket or anybody in the county, really, even Gilpin people like that, people who have a reason to be here and are here regularly. We will forgive those tickets as long as they just do what they're supposed to do. We take care of people who are here. It's about tourists. That's where the impact is. I have the ability to forgive tickets if there's a justified reason. And I do that. And you can always send people to me if they, sometimes people say Interstate doesn't call them back, but they didn't even wait. They have a 24-hour response time in their contract. And sometimes they don't get Interstate as quickly as they'd like. You can always give them my information and I will talk to them. And if there's a reason to forgive it, I can get it done too. So I just throwing that out there in the universe. But I think we need to, if we're going to holistically address parking in the downtown, we have to start thinking and doing the things that are hard. We can't be wishy-washy about this anymore. We can't sing kumbaya anymore and think about every single possible person that's going to be impacted by it. We're going to have to think about, let's protect our residents' way of life. Let's make sure that everybody who is benefiting from the parking actually benefits from it. And let's make sure that the rules are followed. Those are the things that we're going to have to do. And it's going to be hard. And I'm just going to say it, it's just going to be hard, and we got to do it. And it has to happen now, right now. We can't have any more time to mess around with this.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. And DJ, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah, the signage thing would be incredibly helpful. Just having more information out there. And I didn't know those numbers about the 103 lot. If there is a sign that's saying discount parking, go this way, and historic downtown to your right, cross here, make sure that there's nice pedestrian walkways. Anything to make it more attractive would be highly beneficial. So that's where I'm at there, and I get where John is coming from, and one last thing I'd like to say is, even adjusted sales tax numbers are up, so we're doing something right, and I just think we need to keep building on that momentum and keep using the resources we have and the options that we have to keep this going.
Yeah, TJ, and it's kind of even staggered where there's actually free parking. If you want to park up by the Hot Springs Resort and walk even further, you don't mind spending $2. Again, the 103 lot, you'll walk, a few blocks and not have to worry about the time. It's a 12-hour lot. But you're right. Maybe get the word out a little better, especially on social media, and take some pressure off of the lot that everybody is using and is a favorite. And I'm sorry. Oh, Chip, please go ahead.
And I agree, TJ, we're definitely doing some things right. Part of my problem is I'm afraid we're going to love it to death and we're going to start going the other way. That's why I feel that we really need to be addressing where we are now and do as much as we can until we get the more mobility center in to make it as comfortable for the guests that are coming here.
I agree with you, Chip, and I think that's what John's saying too. I just, we're talking about where this whole committee is going. I don't know. Maybe there's a parking committee on there, or people that are trying to address these issues a little bit more definitively than kind of the broad scope that we have right now.
Mayor, can I suggest something?
Of course.
We could have another meeting about this topic and what, this morphing this committee into its like next useful life. People need time to digest what we've talked about and maybe other ideas, because maybe there's some crazy fun idea that we haven't even thought about. And I think maybe if we devote one of our meetings in the near future to this topic, we could come together and have some really good cogent conversations about it. And maybe by that time, we'll have figured out more about how parking is gonna, if this parking structure is moving forward is a huge critical part of this conversation, as I think we've kind of identified today. So I would suggest if we had an opportunity to take this up at our next meeting or the one thereafter, maybe we could devote a little bit more time to this and put together an actual agenda, if that would work for everyone.
I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Lindsay?
Yeah, I really like TJ's idea about signage. I think that's low hanging fruit that we could just address immediately. Maybe the parking company, if they're willing to put up additional signage. I mean, I think they've got a great deal going for them. And so I don't think it'd be a lot to ask if they could start put up some additional signage for us. But I think that's a fantastic idea. Just the more signage, the better. So people really have an understanding of the rules.
Yeah, I agree. That is low hanging fruit.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I just wanted a little different perspective here. We're talking, I think we need to be careful that assuming more or less subconsciously that once a parking structure is built, that these problems will tend to go away. We're going to be talking about the same issues after the garage is in. And
Right.
Anything we do now regarding, and I'm actually very into shuttles and think that might be a big part of our answer. And even though there's management issues and ongoing costs compared to a parking structure, it's relatively inexpensive. But the point is, the market is so large that the garage will make an impact for a while, and then we're going to be right back here with the same conversation. So we might as well do all these steps now and try to relieve it any way we can now.
Good point, Bob. Lindsay?
Sorry, I was just thinking, we've talked in the past about the potential for the little scooters that I know anyone living in Denver is very familiar with, and I see them using them all the time. I've never used one and I'm a little intimidated. But if you live in Denver, it's just second nature. You use them all the time. And the e-bikes, and I know we have a new business in town that's doing the bike rentals and whatnot. So maybe there's an opportunity for partnership there if they're willing to place some bikes or deliver bikes to a lot, or again, partnering with one of these scooter companies. I know the police chief was a little on edge about, if they're being left kind of out on the sidewalk but from my experience, kind of seeing how this works, there's ports that you go take them to and park them and whatnot. So that again, might be some low hanging fruit where you don't have to employ someone to drive a shuttle. Just, another thought for maybe next summer, we have some time to get something like that in place.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. And I'll guarantee you we can do a more managed job than Denver, because right now, Denver has some issues with the scooters. I've seen this myself, being left haphazardly. And I know they are looking at some legislation to try to clean this up with the scooter providers. And I think, there's a lesson to be learned. We can do this better. I will guarantee you. Like you said, maybe a rack with charge ports or something like that. If we go to that direction. Jonathan, I see you had your hand up.
Sorry, I just wanted to tell you at CML I met with, which is Colorado Municipal League Conference, I met with Bird Scooters, and they're interested in coming to talk to us. And so maybe that could be a part of this, is having them meet with a small group of stakeholders to talk about what it might look like. They do geo fencing now, which is different than used to happen. So they can digitally manage where scooters are able to go, similar to a shopping cart that can't leave the parking lot. They
Mhm.
can do the same thing. So I think there's some options.
Well, that's good. Jared, hadn't heard from you yet. Saw you had your hand up.
I was going to reaffirm that, yeah, now geofencing is a pretty hot topic in that world. And typically when you check a scooter out now, I believe you have to place it back in a geofenced area and your app should tell you where that is, et cetera. Is it perfect? No, but it should at least contribute to people placing them in more appropriate locations. And then there's also the balancing item. A lot of companies look at this service as balancing itself for the most part, but then some will take the extra step of doing more frequent rebalancing, and oftentimes they partner with local companies. Maybe that's something that our new local bike shop could partner with them in regards to rebalancing, making sure they're charged, things of that nature, which is good for a local business as well as a service for the community.
Yeah. Sadie, I see your hand up.
I think also as we I love John's suggestion about giving us all time to kind of ruminate on the direction of this group and how we move it forward. I do think also it's really important to understand, especially as we all know, the heavy impact that events and we're becoming more and more enticing, like events want to come here. They're really excited about what we're doing, the closeness to the metro area and all that stuff. So figuring out a way to kind of bridge all of those things together might be really, really helpful. And I'm with Lindsay. I'd be very interested in helping move the scooter effort forward. It's really successful in smaller communities. I think in bigger communities, it can be kind of not, pardon my language, a bit of a shit show. And we are so small that I think in the communities where I've seen it working really well, like in Erie, Colorado, it works really well. It's small and they have it in the geofencing area. It's a very successful program for them because their public parking is more remote from their downtown area. So I think the more we can capitalize on those technologies and partnering with local businesses, I think we'll find some success in that area.
Thank you, Sadie. Yes, Lindsay.
The other thought too is, there have to be some marketing effort behind this, but becoming more of a bike friendly community. And so if people are driving in and they park in the free lot or cheap lot and then, ride their bikes into town, if we have identified areas. I mean, there's very few areas in town to lock up your bike on an actual bike rack. I mean, we have a tiny, tiny one in front of the museum next to Two Brothers. But, if we really market that, hey, we're this bike friendly, walking friendly community, part of our kind of downtown master plan efforts as we move forward. But I think having a lot of bike racks and things in town where people can park and ride their bike and come in along the greenway. And so again, just another thought.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I just have this thought that the visitor center and/or the Underhill Museum, I could see them maybe participating in this effort. And it would occur to me that there's space for this. So again, I have not mentioned this to them, but it seems like that might be a good match.
Yeah, even on the, behind Westbound and Bojo's, if there's some identified areas for bike racks back there, that could be a great spot as well. Or in the summertime, along the marketplace and businesses that don't have tables and things out front, we could have bike racks out there for people, just to, again, encourage that kind of activity.
And I just want to echo Kit Collier's point that we're going to have a new bike rack going in on the library grounds, which is another pretty convenient location too. So something to consider. DJ, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I would just like to mention again that there is a website for sale that has been built out. that the city could acquire or through the chamber for a relatively low amount of money that could be that beginning arm of communication. I mean, it is the number one spot that people hit when they search Idaho Springs. So that is an option, and I think it maybe not addressed right now, and I'm sure that would be something that would have to go to council, but I think it should be addressed.
AJ, thanks for that reminder. I know exactly what you're talking about. Jonathan, I'm sorry, did you have your hand up?
I was gonna say the same thing.
All right. Jonathan, do you have anything else for us on this?
No, I do. If I could set that meeting date, I would appreciate it. And then maybe what I could do is send out an email that just says what we're gonna do. And if anybody has any specific thing they'd like to talk about on the agenda at that time, I'd like to just put together an official agenda just so we stay on track for the conversation and can kind of maybe make some progress towards some goals. So if that's amenable to you, Mayor, I would suggest maybe not the next meeting, which would be in 2 weeks, but the one thereafter. Would that work?
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, well, if I send everybody an email and I'll put like a deadline for agenda items, maybe you guys could send me any ideas you have, and then we could put that together. And then we'll start working forward. And one of the things that may come up, just as I was listening, is we may have subcommittees here. There may be, I think we could do stuff with signage right now. Maybe we have a little signage group. Maybe we have a scooter group, all those kinds of things. I think we can do that. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, let me know. We did that briefly with the combined dumpsters, and we started working on the parking garage too. We had little tiny task forces. So yeah, just feel free to brainstorm, because I'd like to create a committee here. And when I say I mean, I think what we really are trying to do is create a committee that can help guide these efforts into the future. And I think we want to make sure it's robust and sustainable. And so I just want to make sure that we have all the ideas covered. And that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you, Jonathan. I know Kit Carter is interested in the scooter group. TJ, I see your hands up. Sorry, TJ. Oh, you didn't have your, okay. Sadie, I see your hands up.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Rapid Grass is Saturday. So Rapid Grass Saturday, gates at 10. Should be fun, free, where it's a fundraiser again for Carlson PTA and the Clear Creek Rec. So it should be a really fun event, and I appreciate all the business sponsors. It's been wonderful to have the business community come together again to throw this out again. And so just reminding everybody that is coming up on Saturday.
Sadie, thank you. Very worthwhile. Should be a fun time. Another community announcement. Today at 5 p.m., and this goes till 7 p.m., the folks at Loaves and Fishes are honoring the volunteers. So they're having a dinner tonight, and I will be there representing Idaho Springs, thanking all those volunteers that are helping folks, fortunately, that are less fortunate. And again, there's a 2-hour window there. Anyone is welcome. And because of the weather tonight, it's actually going to be across the street at the Rock House. But you can park at Loaves and Fishes and walk across the street there at the Rock House. And we've got about 12 minutes here. I'd like to just briefly go around and see how business is doing. Lindsay, I'll start with you. How are things going?
Yeah, we had a great July. Again, we're still not hitting 2019 numbers, but it kind of balances out because we're mindful of our labor and all of that. So as long as we're balancing everything, I'm not too worried about being down. But yeah, we still haven't hit those 2019 numbers, but I considered it to be a good July. And I'm looking at a good August as well. So yeah, and of course, since rafting is coming to a close, The weekdays are really slowing down and going to be slowing down. Well, today is really the first day I'm really seeing that. I just looked at our numbers. And so, I'm expecting to have, some great weekends, but, not as much during the week for sure.
Yeah, I understand. TJ, wanted to check in. How's things going?
We're happy. We're chugging right along. Been had some reinvigoration with some staff, and trying to get through the angry August and looking forward to fall.
Okay. All right. Stephanie, how's business?
Business is good. We're strong, steady, and just keep on chugging along. We're actually decent today. So, I don't know, rain.
Yeah. Yeah, no, glad to hear that on a Monday. Chip, how are things going there?
Things are going good. Had a decent month. We just finished our period. We actually do things a little different than most people, but that's no surprise. We're actually on 13 4-week periods. And so we just finished our, I forget which 6th period or something like that. And it was a good period. It was actually better than pre-pandemic by a little bit, and a little bit better than last year. So that's good.
All right. Yeah, no, that is good. Sadie, I stopped in the shop today, and there were others mingling around. Looked really good. How are things going there?
Things are going really, really well. It's definitely been nice to have the amount of moisture that we have, and that always affects retail traffic flow a little bit. We were down a little bit in July. It was the first time we saw a drop so far this season. And like everybody reflected, gas prices in July were pretty intense in that area. And it's nice to see August on a steady trend. And we actually haven't seen too much of a drop off during the week yet. It's still been really strong during the week. What I am anticipating, and I'm sure everybody else is what it will be interesting to see what leaf season does. If we get an early freeze because of the amount of moisture we've had, it could really zero out our leaf season. So kind of just preparing and understanding what that might look like. And we're actually just prepping and getting ready for the holidays already. So.
All right. Sounds good. Anybody else have anything as far as business goes? Chip.
With Sadie's comment, in my long history of being around here and kind of watching these things, my recollection is generally when we've had a wet summer, everybody goes, oh, right, we're going to have lots and lots of snow for the winter. But after a wet summer, historically, things tend to dry out. So you might end up having a pretty good fall. Providing we haven't been too wet and everything all the leaves turn black from fungus.
Yeah, no, good historical perspective. I appreciate that. Andy, do you have anything?
Yes, I wanted to report to the group that City Council approved the installation of, at no cost to the city, the installation of rapid charging, of electric vehicle charging stations. They were going to be up by the Mustang lot, but because of plans for the mobility hub in that area, we needed to find an alternate location. And it's going to be in the diagonal spots just east of the fire station. So near the oversized vehicle spots there where the rafts and the rafting companies and the buses use. So it'll be the first several spaces there on that east end of those diagonal spots. There's already adequate power in that location. And then it'll also, one of those oversized spots will be for oversized vehicles that need rapid charging as well, where we will add a oversized spot to make up for the one that's lost because of that on the east end there. So we'll lose a few single spots, but those aren't used very often. I don't think it will have a huge impact. So The vehicle charging people seemed happy with it because they see it just a couple blocks from downtown, kind of a central location. And we really do need some rapid charging spaces here in town. So don't know the timeline. We just have to revise. Council has to officially approve the revised agreement. And then maybe by the end of the year, we'll see what their time schedule is. It has to go through planning as well.
All right, thank you. Chip?
What's the current timeline on moving the the center?
House?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we're close. I know they're digging the hole. They're gonna have to pour a 10-inch thick foundation, which is unusually large, and then because of the weight of the triple brick Jacob House. And then it's got to cure, I think, for weeks to get hard enough for them to set it on. So Jared, unless you have another update, or Andy, I would expect probably beginning of September, maybe mid-September.
I don't have a great update for you, but I do, all your timeline's correct that it will take us some time to frame up and pour the foundation and then cure it before they're able to, actually move it. So I'm not sure if they've scheduled the move date yet. I think that's probably, that might hold on. They might hold off on that until the foundation's actually poured, because then they know how long it takes to cure. So unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for you on that.
But I think it's going to be generally around there. And Chip, I bet you in 2 weeks we'll probably have a move date that we can share with the group. And Lindsay, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just really quickly, I wanted to kind of report on CCDC. As far as we're seeing a ton of business activity, new business activity, specifically in Idaho Springs. And so we have a flower shop that's looking to open in historic downtown. And so that should be coming up pretty soon. We have a general store kind of outfitter. They want to sell kayaks and fishing gear and things like that. So they're looking for a location. And I'm trying to track down the contact information for the owner of the Downward Dog, where Downward Dog was, or Dancing Dog, sorry, Downward Dog. And because they're very interested in that space. We're seeing, just a lot of activity, which is great. I think it speaks to the recovery efforts that have happened in the county. And there are a couple others that we're looking at as well, trying to help them find space. So I'll keep everyone posted. But love seeing those empty buildings fill up.
Yeah, Lindsay, if I'm not mistaken, the owner of the Dancing Dog building is the same person that owns the Shell station right next door. Hey, I'm just curious, since you brought this up, what about the Evergreen Bank building in downtown? They've ceased operations there, and it seems like it'd be a terrific spot for somebody.
Yeah, no, and actually I need to follow up with Dan Ebert on that space. My understanding is they are planning on leasing it out. And so I will get more information on that. And then Citywide Bank, there was, it was under contract. And I did hear recently, actually today, that it's no longer under contract. I need to confirm that. And so, that space is available as well. We've been in contact with the broker, and we want to see the highest and best use get into that space as well.
All right, thank you. Sadie, I see your hands up.
Yeah, Lindsay, I was just going to say, as you get information on the Evergreen Bank building, offline, I'd love to talk to you. There is someone that really is going to need a new location ASAP. So there is some retailers and some people on Minor that are going to need new locations ASAP. And so I would hate for our community to lose cornerstone businesses that have been in our community for a long time. And so if you get some information on who is in charge of leasing that Evergreen Bank building, I would loop me in and I can loop you
Okay.
in as well.
Yeah,
it would
I
be
know
really
exactly who you're talking about. I'm actually meeting with them this week, so fingers crossed.
wonderful. I told them
Yeah.
I told them to reach out to you.
Yeah,
so
they
I'm
did
really
this
glad to
morning,
see.
so we're gonna meet later in the week.
Well, thank
Good.
you.
Yay.
Jared,
Good.
Jared, I see your hands up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I know we talked about this just a little bit at the ISMA meeting, and I don't want to be, a Debbie Downer or anything. I just want to make sure that if we do have people who are interested in taking places and making alterations, et cetera, even to the use of the location, because what we've been running into here lately is we've got a number of people who are really excited to fill a space, which we love. We want to see that. That is our goal. But we also have to make sure that that everything is in compliance with building codes, which is oftentimes confusing because people will think, well, the zoning is fine, which most of the time it is. You're looking at a retail component in the downtown. Normally that's not an issue. But it might, whatever the previous use is, might put you into a different category of building code. And so I just want to bring that up to hopefully reinforce, please come see us as soon as you get somebody who's, strongly interested, because I do want to make sure that the process isn't held up. Because I know the, working with city building, et cetera, oftentimes that's the way it gets looked at, and that's not our goal. We just want to make sure that the spaces are safe.
Jared, thank you for that. Prime example would be the dog groomer building going to a pizza restaurant. Exactly what you're talking about. And Chip, I think I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that there's a new business that that's opening up in the 1600 block across the street from westbound and down. One of those two buildings that's been closed for so long, they're finally doing some stuff. I'm not sure if that had been talked about previously.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
great
actually,
news.
that's what, yeah, so Jared mentioned it. We talked about it at the ISMA meeting as well. Amy Miley from Clear Creek Acupuncture is working with Jared now, and they're working through all the ins and outs of making sure that space is a good fit and has all the right safety features and everything. And she's going to be opening a retail location there that's going to be great for community services, as well as like a general store for wellness merchandise as well. And then the space next to it is also under conversations to be activated as well. So that will completely activate almost the 1600 block of Minor. Will no longer have any vacant spaces on it.
Well, great. Chip and Sadie, thank you very, very much. In fact, I had just recently asked Delps how long it had been, and he told me that it was 2016, the last time there was a business active, unfortunately. So that is very, very good news. Hey, but before we go, I just want to make sure, Chief, do you have anything for the group or Wonder?
Just two things real fast. We had a pretty big event in town last Saturday for the Georgetown to Idaho Springs Half Marathon. I was told that it went very smoothly. Little minor things that we can maybe do better next year with the organizers, but it went very well. There were a lot of people in town for that event. Just reminding everybody that the triple bypass is this Saturday.
Yep.
Along with Rapid Grass. Doesn't really affect us much, just traffic on Highway 103. And then also wanted to throw out to the group that the sheriff has lifted the fire ban as of tomorrow. So just sometimes people are asking business owners and folks about the fire ban. That will be lifted tomorrow. That's all I've got, Mayor.
I'm going to bring my torch out.
I was just
All right.
going to also mention that that triple bypass, and there's also the Two Brothers Up and Down, which is pretty much just CRC Park and then up Two Brothers very early in the morning, should have no impact.
So what is
There
the
are
Two Brothers up?
three events Saturday.
What's the Two Brothers Up and Down?
They just run up Two Brothers and then run back down. That's all. All the way up, all the way up.
How
and
long
then-
has that been? I've never heard of that one.
Uh-huh. This is year 2.
Year 2, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, well, Wonder, thank you for that. Very good to know. Before we go, anyone have anything else? All right, well, I want to thank, oh, yes, Andy.
So are we gonna plan to meet again in 2 weeks? Is that the thought?
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I was suggesting the one after that one, but we could do that the next meeting.
I just didn't know if we were gonna have another meeting before we have the meeting about the future of this group.
Oh, got it.
So I just want to make sure everybody knew what the next meeting date was before we left.
Right, so we'll have a meeting in 2 weeks and then another one 4 weeks. Is that what you had in mind, Jonathan? All right. All right, before we go, anybody have anything else? Then I want to thank everybody for your time. Very productive meeting. I look forward to seeing everybody in 2 weeks.